but something just kept saying, trust the process, man. And I go into my and here's the thing about it. What I did is I bet on myself going into my senior year because I got an opportunity to transfer to one of the biggest schools in the nation that's known for producing players that not only play well but went to the league. I got an opportunity to transfer, and I basically told the guy no that I'm gonna stay at Southeast Missouri State going into my senior year. So I bet on myself, and then I go into my senior year, and even when I went into my senior year, man, there was a lot of things that was going right. I mean, I led the nation in sacks. I made All-American. I balled out. Coach Tony Samuel played a big part in really pouring it to me and teaching me about the game of football. But when everything was when I was riding on that highway and everything was going well, then boom, adversity. I ended up hurting my ankle my last 2 games of the season. I missed the season. I cried, and I found out my granddaddy died. You know what I'm saying? That hurt me. I didn't know if I was gonna get drafted. I thought the dude that was behind me, that was the number 2 spot and leading the nation in sacks, he's about to come take that number 1 spot for me. Man, I thought the world was crumbling down, coming down on me. And then boom, I get healthy. I go into that All-Star game, and end up playing, and still moving forward. I end up getting undrafted by the Ravens. But anyway, the point of what I'm telling you about that those 4 years in college, it was that, man, I just had to trust the process. And it really goes back to what I was saying at the beginning when we first started recording. Man, my belief first in the God that I serve, knowing that every single time he would make sure I was good and present me with opportunities. And when I look back on my life, there was a lot of things that probably shouldn't have happened the way it should have happened for me, but it happened. But also too, the grinding and the working, man. The grinding and the work, and that's what I was talking about at the beginning. The things that people didn't get a chance to see, and all the work that I was putting in when I was in college. Man, I'd go to the gym late at night after we finished working out in the facility. I'd go to the gym late at night, run. Then I would go to the football field, run some sprints, and I just always believed in whatever that got me to that moment, whatever got me from high school to college or junior to high school to college and allowed me to be able to get that scholarship, those ingredients I had to keep on using for that cake that I wanted to bake. And that was just that hard work and that grinding, man, that hard work and that grinding. And throughout those years, man, like to me, when I look back on all of that, of the grinding and the working, and when I had opportunities to leave, I just stayed the course. It was like, no, I'm gonna stay. I supposed to be here. And it felt right. It felt right. Even when people tell me, no, you should transfer. Like I just knew like it was gonna happen. And there was some people that just didn't see it. Um, man, just all of that took place, it was exactly what it needed to be. And when I look back on now with this getting this Hall of Fame thing, uh, it was just all worth it, man. And I wasn't surprised when I got the phone call about it. Because in my mind, like in my head, that was a real world for me. Like my world was like, I'm gonna make it to the league. One day I'll be in the Hall of Fame, my college. One day I'll be in the Hall of Fame, the NFL. Like, even though the NFL that happened, that was still just that's still my belief season. I feel like I'm in the NFL. I feel like I'm in the Hall of Fame in the NFL. Just based off the odds and what I beat and coming out of where we come from. Now, even though I'm not actually in there, but in my head, like the accomplishment of fighting for things and grinding and getting to college and doing what I had a chance to do, and then going to the league, getting a chance to do what I had to do. Like, psh, my this ain't no luck.
Welcome to the Cipher. Flow harder than the hands on Peter Piper. And now we would like to introduce you to your rivals. It's like Ali and Tyson. The hook miss with the liking. Show nothing, Mr. Bison, Maximus and Leonidas. You were in the booth with Titans, goons, goblins, and Vikings. It ain't really nothing like us.
It ain't no way around it. You can't again talking about we finna get ready when a game getting ready to start.
Yeah, nah, you might get to halftime and have to make some adjustments, but game plan been in place. You've been preparing all week for that game. You know what I'm saying? For what they gonna do. Something can change, but No, you ain't gonna get to the beginning of like, hey, man, all right, let's get ready. They might do this, and that. That don't make sense. So you find yourself.
Man, we're back for another episode of the L.I.T Code. I'm Edgar Jones.
I'm Courtney Anderson.
We back at it again, man. If this is your first time checking this out, we appreciate it. Thank you. If you're back again to come check us out, we appreciate y'all. But yeah, Court, you can't, if you gotta, it's funny, man, because the last, like, I would say about 3 months, about 2 months, like we kind of had a little adversity going on. It just slow. It wasn't a lot happening. And it was fun because when I was sitting there thinking, I was thinking like, man, when you be having this downtime like that and things ain't popping like you need to be doing, like you expecting them to go, your preparation is everything.
Yeah.
Because when it gets back up and going, it's ready to go. When it's gonna go, it's gonna go. And when it's time to go don't. Hey, y'all ready? That's it. Like either you ready or you not. So in that time where things was kind of down and slow, it wasn't a lot happening. But the funny thing about it is that everybody at the job was just still trying to critique their craft, working on fixing this and fixing that and finding little smaller things you need to work on. And I just kept saying in the back of my head, whenever it take off, it's going to take off. Whenever the phone call happen, it's going to happen. And if I think about every part of my life, man, when like big things have happened, it was always like a season before the big thing happened when things was just kind of in a funk. Like it just didn't seem right. Like something was off, but it was always that time to continue to critique my craft and work. And then as soon as it was time to go, it's time to go, and it's time to go. And I think about the times I haven't taken advantage of stuff like that is when I didn't prepare myself, because I have been caught on the other side when opportunities have popped up and I didn't quite prepare myself like I needed to. And I failed. Like I didn't do what I needed to do to basically maximize on the opportunity, man. So, and now we live in a world now, dude, where people look at preparation as something that like it could kind of seem that preparation should be bypassed, but you should not bypass preparation. And it looks like that because everything is so instant. So it's like you just see the finished product. You don't see like or you see me now walking into this opportunity, right? You don't see me like what I was doing before and all the work I had to put in, all the grind I had to put in, man. So, and it ain't for everybody to see. Quite frankly, I don't think it's for everybody to see. I think it's for you to know, man, and believe, because it's gonna come a point in time where the opportunity gonna come where it's gonna be you and that opportunity, and that's it. And your belief system, what you've been able to do and what the time you've been able to put in, like that right there is what's going to be the next push you need. And that right there is going to be that talk that you're going to have with yourself to say, hey, man, I done did everything I need to do. And there's no better feeling than knowing when an opportunity get ready to pop up and you feel secure in like what I've done. Like you feel secure in like all the work I'd have put in, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm good, bro.
Yeah.
Like Booby Miles say, man, this God's plan. All I gotta do is show up.
Show up.
You know what I'm saying? I gotta show up. But also too, you gotta put in the work. You gotta put in the work, man. You got to. So I think sometimes we get caught up in, people gotta see it. They don't gotta see it, man.
No.
They don't got to see it. It ain't for them to see, man. It ain't for them to see, because the mistake that can happen is you can think that because they see, they supposed to understand. And then you can set yourself up to be disappointed because you thought what they was looking at, you thought because you let them see it, and you thought they was going to respect you for what you was doing and grinding and working. And then you start to think that they're going to understand, but they can't understand because a giraffe can't understand a fish. Just can't, man. It ain't nothing towards them. It ain't nothing towards them. It ain't nothing. It's for you to understand the process. It's for you to understand the process, man.
Yeah. Every story is like
this episode is over. We done. I see. Understand the process, man. Belief, bro.
Belief, respect, and timing. One reason we lack preparation sometimes because we start getting prepared, and then because we don't respect timing anymore because of everything being so instant. Well, it ain't happening, so I'm gonna quit. Right? I'm still at square one. I'm still in the grind mode, and I ought to have reward somewhere. Everybody else getting a reward. Right? We talk about that all the time. The dangers of comparison. Right? I'm looking on this on this app, and everybody else getting a reward. And I know he ain't working harder than me. I know she ain't smarter than me. I know she ain't. It's an African proverb that says, "Do not envy a bird till you know the pains of flapping." Right? You see the bird flying. Man, I wish I could fly. That bird got to move his wings up and down a couple thousand times in a minute. You imagine the cramps. You know what I'm saying? We can't stop a bird in action, but just imagine you're a human. Imagine moving your arms up and down that many times. How long it'll take for you to get to where you can handle flying. Look pretty. We don't know the pains of it, right? We don't know what the birds went through. If it's an eagle, right? Well, we know his mama pushed his ass clean out the nest when he was little. Watch him flap on and hit the rocks down there. Maybe he'll figure it out. Maybe he won't. Right? Only the strong gonna survive. Just we get spoiled over here in our nation. And I don't knock anybody's trauma. I don't knock my own, but we really spoiled over here. Right? I sent Edgar a YouTube clip on the story of Francis Ngannou. This is the heavyweight champion of the UFC right now. Francis Ngannou was born in Cameroon, right? He didn't. By the time he was 10, he had to drop out of school because they couldn't afford supply, so he went to work in the sand mines, right? So at 10 years old, he's working in sand mines, open sand mines, and he decides one day, somebody shows him a YouTube clip of Mike Tyson, you know, when he's a teenager, and he's like, I want to do that. It's a long story, but he goes on to flee from his country. He has to cross the desert. He has to cross the large body of water, right? He don't have nothing, he gets arrested. He tells a story about being tangled up in this barbed wire fence, having to get himself loose. And then he finally gets over here now. When he gets over here, he walks straight into a boxing gym. First day he gets to France. He gets to France. Tells the guy he wants to train, sleeps in the parking lots, trains up, gets his first fight, next fight. Now he's the heavyweight champion of the world. Well, he had to respect timing the whole time, right? It's another African proverb that says, God created lands with lakes and rivers, water, and vegetation for man to live. He created the desert for man to find his soul. Meaning, I got this for you, but sometimes you got to cross this to figure out who you are, what you can endure. So when you get here, you're going to appreciate it and you'll thrive in this, right? But you built in this though, the desert, right? Barren land, ain't nothing out there, you got to survive. Most of the time, biblical story, somebody always go off into the wilderness or the desert, fasting till they have an epiphany to come back to this world, right? It's always that period of time where you gotta go dark, basically. Gotta go through it. But what we can't do is let it rob us of our will to live, right? Our journey to endurance, to endure whatever we have to go through to get to this point. Because if you do, right, we hear stories of suicide all the time, right? Not just on our level of life, but celebrities. Regina King, the famous Black actress, her son just committed suicide, right? He's her only child. And I empathize with it because I imagine working hard to have a wildly successful life, right? And make sure when my child gonna have everything they need and stuff gonna be easier, right? But them still finding their own traumas and then not being able to deal with them. If you want to go biblical, Psalms 30 and 5, weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. That whole chapter of Psalms 30 in its entirety, that's a full story about that very thing right there. Being sad, right? But joy following it through their faith in God. You know, I am about religion, whatever that is that you believe in, through your faith in it, right? Fruitfulness following a time of drought. It always happens, right? If you want to go African proverbs, big game usually appears when the hunter's giving up for the day, right? Egg and I used to hunt a lot back home. Right? I can tell this story about my father, my cousin Cody. Right? We had sat in the deer stand for about 4 hours, got in just before daybreak, sat in the stand until it started to get hot. Louisiana, it'll be cold at night, but then about 11 o'clock, you in all your clothes and stuff, man, it get hot. So Dad decided he was gonna show us how powerful the guns were. So he shot a couple squirrel nests out of the tree, shot down in the slough, and watched the water blow up in the air. Right, we shot up all our ammo. Came out of the woods, we got right by the house. Come through that main field, through the back, right by where the dogs used to be.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, we hear something rustling in the bushes, and these two big, huge bucks come out. And they not even running. Like they just kind of walk out and look at us and turn their head sideways, blow, and then they just trot off slowly. We don't have no more ammo left because we gave up on the day, right? We said the hunt over, right? So we gave up. That's exactly how life works sometimes. Now Cody and myself, we tried to sprint to the house and get the bullets for Dad, but by the time we got back, they ran another patch of wood. So that was that. But in life, it happens like that. Most of the time, right when you quit, right, that's when your fruitful period is. And if you look back on the hard times, they really usually don't last as long, right, as you think they do. Maybe a year, 2-year period. You get through that 2-year period, you got 20 years of fruitfulness here. And there'll be some setbacks in between, right? Even in your fruitful days, you'll run into some walls, but it's different because you already been through this, so I know I can beat this. There's not an opponent that can stand in front of Francis Ngannou that's going to be harder than being in the sand mines at 10 years old, or harder than crossing the Sahara Desert or crossing the ocean. You see what I'm saying? But he knows that, so even he's been knocked out. Derrick Lewis from Houston, big Derrick Lewis knocked him out, right? He ain't been knocked out since. Still the heavyweight champ. He just won a fight last night. It ain't gonna be nothing that we can throw at him over here that's gonna be compared to that. So every time he hits those walls, he's gonna know, hey man, I can beat that because I beat my period of time when I had to go through the desert. We got to keep that in mind. I think it's extremely important that we do that because darkness will take over so quick. You allow your mind to start thinking, hey man, this is all I'm gonna ever be, and this it. Nah, just keep going a little further every day, right? And then boom, before you know it, hey man, I've been out of that space for 10 years now, right? I'm gonna drop a little something on y'all. We didn't start this episode like we usually do, but Mr. Jones here was being inducted into Southeast Missouri State Hall of Fame. That's the college he went to, right? Edgar went to college there. His living arrangements don't look nothing like they look now. The vehicle he was driving, I remember the Explorer, wasn't nothing like what he drives today. The food he was getting to eat wasn't nothing like the food he can get to eat today. His money, financial situation wasn't nothing like that then. That was his period of going through the desert. It wasn't the biggest school, right? It wasn't LSU. It wasn't Alabama, right? That was grind time though, timing, right? He hadn't even fully developed yet when he first got there. He's told you in previous episodes, he sprouted his senior year. Then he got hurt. Then he went to the All-Star game. Then he went to the NFL the back way, right? He came through the back door, made the best out of it, 7-year career, starting a new career now, children, home, whatever, but he's being inducted into the Hall of Fame. He said it earlier, it ain't for everybody to see. It's not, but sometimes people do see it, right? He's going to the Hall of Fame for his time in the desert. Not his time in the NFL, not when he comes to Raven, everybody, oh, that's Elgin. Not for that. But for that 18, 19-year-old kid that came there and decided he was going to grind it out and then make his future be what it is, right? Timing, right now, right? His right now was then, and his future was what it was now. And that's a part of the past, but the future really don't exist, does it? I don't think it does. So, but you grinding towards something. If you get to make up your future in your mind, we might as well make it something good. Edgar had to think in his head, hey man, I'm going to the league. Sure, whatever, after he made it to the league, whatever his thoughts of grandeur was about the league wasn't that. Still was work, still was grind time, but he had made it, right? Because he made his future what he wanted to make it in his head. So when you're in the middle of this desert time, right? And since we get to make up the future in our head, because it don't exist, why would you make it a bad thing? Why would you say, hey, I ain't gonna never get out of this? It's gonna always be this bad, right? If I get to make it up, I'm gonna make it some great stuff. You know what I'm saying? Hey man, I'm eating, I gotta eat this dollar taco from Taco Bell every day right now. But you know what? One day I'm gonna be able to say every Tuesday I'm gonna eat burnt ends down here at my favorite steakhouse. Why would I make it anything else? Right? It don't exist and I make it up. I'd be foolish to make it something bad. You know what I'm saying? So use that trick, man, and understand that it's okay. Weeping may endure for a night, joy comes in the morning. Just go a little further. You'll break out of that. It's all about timing. It's all about timing. Keep that will to live and just keep going until you get into your land of lakes and rivers, out of your desert. Just know that that desert is necessary, right? Once you understand that, you shouldn't get too depressed by being in it because you know it's just part of the process. It's what they're gonna finish with. Trust that process, understand it. That's what it is. Now the episode over. We'll see y'all later.
It's a lot you said, man. We appreciate you bringing that up about the Hall of Fame, man. So yeah, February the 4th, getting inducted into the Hall of Fame in Southeast Missouri State. It's a blessing, man. It's been giving me a chance to really sit back and think and to just look back on that whole entire process, to ask myself the question, what was I going through it during that time? To also really, I look at, for me personally, I always look at, when I'm getting something, or like opportunity, or the award I'm getting in the ceremony to be able to get inducted. Man, it really is a time for me to shed light on a lot of people too that's helped me out. Because obviously I had to go on the football field and take care of business, but I can remember a lot of different times in my life where I wanted to quit and I wanted to stop. And I had opportunities to leave that I didn't, based off of people pouring it to me. Now, there was a lot of people, even back at the crib, back at home, man, when I was in high school, middle school, when I would be in college, coming back home, that would take care of me and make sure I was good. It's so many people. It's hard to even try to drop the names. It'd be impossible to drop the names. But, I think about my first year in college and what I had experienced. And that's, because when Courtney said it, he was like, college and then 7 years in the league. Well, there was a big chunk of that part of my life in college that really probably has never been talked about. But anyway, when I got there my first year in college, honestly, I was afraid of being that far from home. And I was in Missouri, which was cold as hell. And I think I told y'all this story before. I actually had somebody back at home tell me that, well, when you go to school, you'll come back home like other people that's left home and went to college. Like, you just come back home. But my first year in college, I actually hurt my ankle. And I ended up getting a surgery. And I remember when I got ready, I wanted to come home because during that time, it was right in December. It was about 15 degrees and I just had surgery on my ankle and I was on crutches for about 3 months. I remember calling my mom and telling her I'm about to come home. And she's like, no, you ain't. You gonna stay up there. And she cussed me out. But she told me I was gonna stay my ass. Of course she cussed me out.
Yeah.
She told me I was gonna stay up there. So I stayed. So now I'm back healthy. I go into my sophomore year. Um, and then I'm on the field playing. This is my second game of the season, I'm on the field playing, and I dislocate my elbow. And I missed the remainder of the season my second year. That's like adversity happens again, right? So now I'm really frustrated. I'm like, my first year I got hurt. My second year I'm out here on the field playing. I get hurt. Things ain't going quite how I wanted to go. Um, I'm about to come home. And I remember talking to you a little bit quiet. I talked to Uncle Bo. I talked to a lot of other people, man, just back at home that would check on me. I know Tootie sometimes back at the crib would check up on me, give me a call. A lot of people, man, would give me a shout. And that really helped me out. And I don't think they realized how much it helped me out with just having them words of encouragement, because sometimes it was times I just couldn't quite encourage myself like I needed to. So just having other people that could just drop a nugget, or having that one person that would just give me something or say something to me, it really played a big part in just giving me that extra umph I needed to move forward. So now fast forward my junior year. I did all right. I played all right that year. I stayed away from the injuries. But here's the thing about it. I had an opportunity to transfer to LSU my junior year. When Murphy was getting ready to come out. I remember I was at the high school in Rayville, and the running backs coach was talking to Murphy, and I was in there chat with Murphy a little bit, and he basically talked to Coach Barton about me transferring. And man, it's funny because when he talked to him about talked to me about transferring to LSU with Murphy, I never felt so comfortable at that moment in time with giving him the decision, and like no, I'm good. I'll just stay where I'm at. Um, and the reason why I did that, it was because that was a huge opportunity, but it was something that felt like that just wasn't for me. It wasn't for me to go. And it was something else that was in the back of my head that just kept saying, trust the process. Just trust the process, trust the work you've been putting in. Even though you've had these ups and these ebb and flows of injuries, you ain't quite playing like you need to. Because that was the other thing. I wasn't quite playing like I needed to, because one of our coaches, he had other guys he was playing in front of me. So at that moment in time, I don't feel like he quite felt like I was prepared to go out there and play. But something just kept saying, trust the process, man. And I go into and here's the thing about it. What I did is I bet on myself going into my senior year, because I got an opportunity to transfer to one of the biggest schools in the nation that's known for producing players that not only play well, but went to the league. I got an opportunity to transfer. And I basically told the guy, no, that I'm going to stay at Southeast Missouri State going into my senior year. So I bet on myself. And then I go into my senior year. And even when I went into my senior year, man, there was a lot of things that was going right. I mean, I led the nation in sacks. I made All-American. I balled out. Coach Tony Samuel played a big part in really pouring it to me and teaching me about the game of football. But when everything was when I was riding on that highway and everything was going well, then boom, adversity. I ended up hurting my ankle my last two games of the season. I missed the season. I cried, and I found out my granddaddy died. You know what I'm saying? That hurt me. I didn't know if I was gonna get drafted. I thought the dude that was behind me, that was the number 2 spot and leading nation in sacks, he's about to come take that number 1 spot for me. Man, I thought the world was crumbling down, coming down on me. And then boom, I get healthy. I go into that All-Star game, and end up playing, and still moving forward. I end up getting undrafted by the Ravens. But anyway, the point of what I'm telling you about that those 4 years in college, it was that, man, I just had to trust the process. And it really goes back to what I was saying at the beginning when we first started recording. Man, my belief first in the God that I serve, knowing that every single time he would make sure I was good and present me with opportunities. And when I look back on my life, there was a lot of things that probably shouldn't have happened the way it should have happened for me, but it happened. But also too, the grinding and the working, man. The grinding and the work, and that's what I was talking about at the beginning. The things that people didn't get a chance to see, and all the work that I was putting in when I was in college. Man, I'd go to the gym late at night after we finished working out in the facility. I'd go to the gym late at night, run, Then I would go to the football field, run some sprints. And I just always believed in whatever that got me to that moment, whatever got me from high school to college or junior to high school to college and allowed me to be able to get that scholarship, those ingredients I had to keep on using for that cake that I wanted to bake. And that was just that hard work and that grinding, man, that hard work and that grinding. And throughout those years, man, like to me, when I look back on all of that of the grinding and the working and when I had opportunities to leave, I just stayed the course. It was like, no, I'm gonna stay. I supposed to be here. And it felt right. It felt right. Even when people tell me, no, you should transfer, you should transfer. Like I just knew like this was it was gonna happen. And there was some people that just didn't see it. Um, man, just all of that took place, it was exactly what it needed to be. And when I look back on now with this getting this Hall of Fame thing, uh, it was just all worth it, man. And I wasn't surprised when I got the phone call about it. Because in my mind, like in my head, that was a real world for me. Like my world was like, I'm gonna make it to the league. One day I'll be in the Hall of Fame, my college. One day I'll be in the Hall of Fame, the NFL. Like, even though the NFL that happened, that was still just that's still my belief season. I feel like I'm in the NFL. I feel like I'm in the Hall of Fame in the NFL just based off the odds and what I beat and coming out of where we come from, you know. Now, even though I'm not actually in there, but in my head, like the accomplishment of fighting for things and grinding and getting to college and doing what I had a chance to do, and then going to the league, getting a chance to do what I had to do, like psh, my this wasn't by no this ain't no luck, you know. This ain't no this ain't no surprise. Like, man, like I knew it was meant to be. I knew it was meant to be because of um I go back to my faith, man. I go back to my faith has always been something that I've always just believed in, man. You know what I'm saying? And then me grinding and working, just grinding and working, dude, and just trusting that process. And a lot of times it didn't happen the way I thought it was gonna happen. That's the other funny thing about it. It didn't always happen the way I thought it was gonna
It
happen.
don't.
It just don't, man. It don't happen the way you think it's gonna happen. But and man, there was so many days, bro, when I cried and I wanted to leave school and I wanted to come home and I just wanted to quit. Like I wanted to quit sometimes, man. But I always just ask myself the question: all right, if you quit, like what are you teaching yourself? Like now what? You quitting for what? And I think, when you start to ask yourself questions like that, now you get a chance to really be honest with yourself and the answer that you're giving to the question that you're basically asking to yourself. And to me, it's like, all right, you quitting because it's hard. Like you quitting because you ain't playing on the field like you think you're supposed to be playing. Like that's the reason why you're gonna leave this. All the sacrifices that's been made back at home, people that sacrifice for you, gonna leave because it is. So what I'm saying at the end of the day, man, just trust the process. Just the whatever work you putting in, you working your butt off and you taking care of business and you doing what you need to do. Just trust the process. And you're gonna have a lot of adversity. You're gonna have a lot of challenges. And I think there's also the importance of being able to have somebody, man, that can encourage you, that you can get those words from. But then sometimes you're gonna have to be able to say that to yourself. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna have to say that to yourself. You're gonna have to speak that to existence, be able to talk to yourself in a way that can just lift you up. Cause that sometimes you're not gonna have access to that person or those people to be able to give you the words that you need. But man, it's the honor, man, to be able to go into the Hall of Fame. I think about how many cats I done played with. I think about how many actually college football players that play. Um, that I mean, there's thousands and thousands and thousands and hundreds and thousands and millions of players. To be able to go into the Hall of Fame, man, it really is a blessing. But it's also, man, just a chance for me to say thank you to everybody, man, that's played a big part in just helping me out, man. Especially my immediate family, my mama, my daddy. You know what I'm saying? Uncle Bo, high school coaches, man, just people that's just it just was there, man. They just gave what they could give. You know what I'm saying? They ain't have a lot, but sometimes to me, and I think it's depending on what you look at as a lot. Because I think giving somebody your time can be even more valuable than money itself. I think it is. You know what I'm saying? Just giving people your time, man. So a lot of people gave time to me and just poured it to me. Um, and I thank them for it. You know, they were in the Hall of Fame with me. So
Yeah. It's funny you say that. You say it's hard to imagine how many players, college players, collegiate athletes. Uh, but you know, college Hall of Famers are not just athletes. Some of them were scientists. Some of them going to be Nobel Peace Prize award winners, and this, that, and the third. Athletes is pinholing yourself, right? Think about how many collegiate students there were that had come through SEMO since it's been an institution until now. That number grows even bigger when you take the athletic part out of it. You're being inducted into that school's Hall of Fame. How many people came through there that have gone on, done all kind of stuff,
yeah,
but they looking at Edgar Jones from Rayville, Louisiana, Trailer Park, French Crossing, that Edgar, to now, right? You said a lot of important stuff. You talked about when you wanted to quit, you always had somebody in your ear. Or even if they wasn't in your ear, I'm sure you could remember somebody told you along the way, good or bad, that motivated you to either prove them wrong or prove them right. Sometimes you got to lean on what you've heard, what you've read, your faith, right? And whatever, I'm not pinholing anybody to one particular religion, but whatever your faith lies in, your faith, depending on your faith at that time, because sometimes it ain't nobody to talk to. Right, you might really need to talk to somebody. You make that phone call, and they might just be busy. Right,
yeah,
ain't nothing against you. I like to think about Agoge, right? The movie 300, right? That's the rite of passage for Spartan boys, right? That's what it's called, AGOG, right? You see a scene on there where the boy growing up and he kind of sparring with his dad, and then these two big men hauling him off, and his mama crying, right? Because these men they're about to take him out and let him go into the wilderness. He'll be charged with killing a wolf and bringing his hide back, right? That's his rite of passage in the manhood. Guess who out there with him? Nobody, right? It's just him, right? But his daddy, his uncles, the people who've been training, they taught him how to build fires. They taught him how to make weapons. They taught him how to use the weapons. They taught him all this stuff. They told him everything he needs to know. Now, when you're in the thick of it, that's when your instincts kick in. Spartans believed in different gods. They believed in gods of the earth or gods of the wind, the water, energies, basically. So he had his faith too, that the gods would see him through, right? But he had everything he learned too, everything he'd been taught. And that's when it's supposed to kick in. They sent him out there by himself. Ain't nobody sitting in the bushes watching. Either he gonna come back or he ain't, right? He gave himself no other options. Edgar talked about that. He had a prize in mind, right? I need to bring this. He saw himself bringing this wolf hide back to his village on his back, right? Edgar saw the prize was, man, I'm gonna be a Hall of Famer, right? He had that prize to keep in front of him. He had his faith. He's got what he's been taught. And then he's got his work, right? Got faith in God. What's the equation though? Faith without work is dead. So I got my faith and I know I put the work in. What's gonna beat me? I've been told that if I have faith and put my work behind it, what's gonna defeat me? It's gonna feel crazy for a little while. I just told y'all, first season hurt himself. Second season hurt himself. If he quits, then the story that he got now ain't the same, right? If you quit, then look at how much
people in front of you. Then I
yeah,
got
you
people
got people in front of you,
yeah,
right? But look at how much time. If he give up, then just because of that adversity, we talking 2 years, right? That's 2 years of adversity. Now it's more adverse a long way, but I'm talking about if those 2 years would have made you quit, Well, now your senior year, we got that story. But what if you quit after that and you don't go to the All-Star game? Right? All-Star game is where you really shine against more competition, better competition. All right, let's say you quit after the 4 years. Well, then you had a 7-year career. And how many years you been retired now? What, 5? 6?
Yeah.
6 years retired from them. So 7 years, 6 years, 13, right? 4 hard stuff that if I would have quit versus 13 now. You see what I'm saying? Like it usually don't add up, right? It's usually even, okay, let's say after the game, you still got adversity, but you living good based on what you did during your time in the league, right? 6 years you've been retired. 6 still beat 4 any day. You see what I'm saying? 6 more than 4, even in China. Usually that time that you're going through stuff, it ain't that long. It just seems like it, right? Think about that period, your junior year, when you said you get hurt again, you find out your grandfather passed. You got all this stuff going on, right? That probably seemed like one of the longest periods of your life right there. But that wasn't even the full year. You see what I'm saying? Like it was just that time, and it felt like that. And we get there. It happens to all of us. It didn't happen to me before. You get there where you like, man, I might as well just give up. But what you got to ask yourself is, a hunger and a thirst was built inside of you because you wanted to escape some situation, right? Whatever it was, poverty. I don't want to see my mama have to live like this. I don't want to. Some people get beat on. Some people, they escaping something. And so we in the middle of that, you got to ask yourself, if I quit, whatever I'm going through now, is it worse than what I was running from? What you going back to, right? Most of the time, every time you beat adversity, you grow some. So if you done grown this much, tell you something about your spirit, about that fire that grows in you. If you done grown so much and you quit in a period of growth and you go back, you won't fit. You're not gonna, your spirit gonna hate you for it. It won't fit back in that box no more. You done changed too much. Some people say I never change. That's foolish. You gotta evolve. Well, you're gonna be involved so much, turned into such a different creature that you don't fit back in the box. So now you gotta fight this. You're gonna be doing something that you know, but you know it's something else out there for me that I should be doing. Sometimes it takes that. Sometimes it takes going back to ground zero to realize, hey man, what I'm doing, like, how much work I did to get from this spot to now. So it's best to give yourself what Edgar told me earlier was, he was like, man, I bet on myself. That means he gave himself no other option. That's it. That's ain't nothing else. Ain't no going back to work in the plants. Ain't no going to do this, going to do that. Hey, I'm going to the league. Right? Ain't no other option. That's all I know. Once you fix your mind to do that, now everything you do gonna be working towards that goal because you ain't got nothing else. Ain't nothing else to fall back on. It's a trick that if you learn how to master it, you do anything you want to do now. Edgar told you about him running the marathon. Me being in the new line of work I'm in, writing a book, us doing this podcast, ain't no other option. Us getting up to record today, man, we're gonna record. I made up my mind at a certain time yesterday because we missed recording a couple times this week. Hey, tomorrow we record. Ain't no option, right? You can do it every day, right? You get up in the morning, you don't feel like going to work. Hey man, I ain't got no other option. I gotta go. Right. He also talked about the ugly part, the part don't nobody see. Think about your whatever your favorite dish is. Right? We talk. The Bernie is steak. Steak. Both of us love steak. It comes to our plate on our table, sizzling. This beautiful hunk of steak sitting here, right? It's all pretty, and you got shrimp around, potatoes, whatever you like with it. Looks good. They even cut into it and make sure they cooked it the way you asked for it to be cooked, right? But you know, a week before that, someone grazing in the field, and it had to be slaughtered, and that cut had to be made, and it had to be tenderized, beat down, seasoned, thrown in heat, through fire, to come to our faces as this finished product. you might say, well, I'm a vegetarian. I don't like your corn, whatever was out in the field, right? First of all, the ground had to be tilled up, beat up, crap poured on it, rained on, right? The seed put in the ground. Then it had to be harvested, cut out, dried out, you know what I'm saying? Whatever, still had to go through a cooking process to get on your plate the way it looks now. You don't see the ugly part. You don't see that, but it was absolutely necessary for everybody to eat off of it. It's necessary, right? Nova, until you tell Nova, and if you may have told the Maya already, they don't know nothing about the ugly part, right? they just eating. You see what I'm saying? Until you tell them, they ain't gonna know, right? I don't have a quick care in the world about it, but that ugly part built all this beautiful stuff you see now. But if Daddy would have quit in the middle of his ugly, you don't get the pretty, or it ain't as pretty, right? But you didn't quit when it was ugly, because you had in your mind, hey man, something beautiful gonna come out of it. Keep that beauty in mind. Do not let that ugly consume you into thinking it ain't nothing else, because it is. It's always something else. You just gotta, sometimes you gotta pull the help chain. You might have to call somebody. You might have to talk to a therapist. You may have to talk to somebody who's been through what you're going through, right? Don't quit though. Quitting should be, don't even let that option start floating into your mind. Like as soon as you see it, as soon as you see it, attack it. Sometimes that means talking to yourself real crazy, right? And you know where you from? You know what we've been through? You acting like a real right now. Sometimes you gotta talk to yourself like that. I do it constantly. Elga do it to himself all the time. Like we got our faith, right? And God and great energy, yeah. But sometimes when it's ugly, you gotta get ugly with self, right? That's what you gotta do sometimes. Hey man, snap out of it. You tripping. Sometimes you gotta tell yourself that, and you just gotta get up and keep going. That's it. That's all. It's that simple and that complex all in itself. Just keep going a little bit. Make progress. Make progress. And then you'll look back, man, and you'll say, man, I was in that dark spot 15 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Trust me, life happens that fast. For my teenage listeners, man, it's like you hit 18 and then boom, you 30 before you know it, right? Like they're not giving up on the ugly parts and overcoming this stuff. And now you're 30 and you like, man, I remember I was 18, I almost gave up, right? It happened fast, man. You get out of school, it's like, boom. Like I turned 35 last week, right? I know I was 17 2 days ago. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't tell me no different. But it happens like that, right? That period of time. I grew up in a volatile household. My mother and father didn't have the greatest relationship. Stuff got ugly in there. I used to think during that 5-year period or so that it wasn't gonna ever end. Like this gonna be like this forever, right? That's what you think when you're in it, but it ain't, right? So what? If somebody calls me with a conflict right now and they're going through and they got turmoil, I'm gonna be the calmest thing ever. And I'm gonna help them through it. That got built in the middle of my ugly period, right? Trying to be that for my parents, trying to be that for my little sister. I built it then, right? Take the beauty out the ugly, keep the beauty in mind, and just keep going, man. That's all you gotta do, and give yourself no other option. Don't play the comparison game too much. That's harder these days with this social media and access to all this stuff. But don't you ever let yourself believe that ain't nothing left. I always believe it's something else out there, because that's the most powerful thing in the world. That's the most powerful drug it is, belief. And if your ass start to believe, hey man, I'm just made for this dark space and I ain't gonna ever get out of it. You believe that, that's dangerous. You won't get out of it. You believe you will, you will. It's that simple. Don't hope. Our boy Dick Gregory said, I'm bound to fucking hope. I know it. I believe it, right? Believe it's something else and I'm gonna make it to this, right? And if you do that, it's gonna happen. You believe the other way, that's what's gonna happen. That's the kind of power you got. So understand that, man. Just keep going.
Yeah, man. You said a mouthful. I don't know, man. I sit back and I think about this Hall of Fame thing, man. I tell you something else, dude, that played a big part. And the reason why I didn't quit as well is because when Quint got locked up, you know what I'm saying? I mean, Quint did 17,
17
you know,
and a half.
and for a lot of people, man, especially, I know our family, heck, that boy was one hell of a football player, man. You know what I'm saying? And the situation that happened with him, and then him ended up going to jail. That played a big part in that played a big part of me staying in and still fighting as well, especially when I felt like I wanted to give up. Like I knew a lot of his life that he was living was through watching us still move on in life. You know what I'm saying? And watching me being on that football field. So, and I think, well, I know I speak for myself, and I'm pretty sure for the listeners that's listening, when you think about the times that you've been wanting to give up and quit something, you could think about somebody, whether it was a parent or a sibling or a cousin or a coach or a teacher or just a neighbor, somebody knew you lived down the street that wasn't as fortunate enough to be in the situation you was able to be in that time, and they pulling for you. They pulling for you. So if they pulling for you and they want to see you make it, like you just quitting and laying down like that, what message am I sending to them? You know what I'm saying? And that's what I always thought about at times where I felt like, man, I'm ready to give up, bro. I would think about Quint. I would think about him being locked up and what he was dealing with. And I couldn't even relate to that, but I was like, you know what, man? I'm gonna do this because I knew this is something my cousin was supposed to be doing. You know what I'm saying? Like I knew he was supposed to be doing it as well. So shout out to franchise, man, because he played a big part in that push, bro. He played a real big part, especially like beat me up when I was a kid and what I'm saying, roughing us up when we was kids and stuff, like all that dog type mentality that I needed to deal with, what I needed to deal with at the college level and the NFL level. A big part of it came from just how we grew up. A big part, a large, significant part of that came from how we grew up and being around him. You know what I'm saying? And it's and that's a when I say, like, you know what I'm saying, when I look at people that played a big part and the reason why I went into the Hall of Fame, he did too. You know what I'm saying? When I made it to the league, franchise made it to the league. When I go into the Hall of Fame, he went, because that's the impact he had on me and really being able to give me what I needed, even though he didn't understand it at that moment in time. The burst, the energy that I needed to keep pushing was based off of the situation that he dealt with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So shout out to cousin, man, for real. But it's man, life just throws you, bro. It throws you, it rumbles, bro. And it's that's a beautiful thing about growing up in the country, because when you grow up in the farm and you grow up in nature and being outdoors like that, don't no river care about if you can't swim or not. You know what I'm saying? Don't know like if you get in, you better get down. You know, don't know crops care about if you got no kids to feed. Either you're gonna go out there and till the soil and fertilize and do what you need to do and go out there and feed your family and take care of business. Growing up at home teaches you that. It teaches you everything has consequences. You know what I'm saying? It really does. For everything you do, there's gonna be something that's gonna come out on the other side of it. And you can't avoid consequences. You can't. You know what I'm saying? Like, you cannot avoid consequences. Whether When there's an action put into place, you just cannot avoid it. So, and growing up at home taught us that, man. It taught us that. It taught us that a lot. It taught us that a lot. Because if you think about it, everybody ain't going to the league. Everybody ain't going off to be some big type of scientist or going off to do big things. But to me, I look at, what do you define as big, though? Like in my world, right? Like my definition of being at home, I define big as just man, seeing people that live right down the street in our neighborhood and our town that just work their butts off, and them being able to provide and take care of their family. A lot of them people, man, I look at them as superstars. You know what I'm saying? And I actually still do. I still do. I really do, man. So like to me, that was big. That was taking care of business. You know, it wasn't about you got a job up in some nice car, had the biggest house. It's your responsibility. You taking care of your family, taking care of business, and you being the individual that got a code of conduct to you. Like you got integrity to you. Somebody people can count on. Like that's what I still. And it's funny now when I look at growing up and seeing so many people in our town, man. That I mean, cool. We can go down a list of just old heads, man, and elders of the church and people that's still around there now that they took care of business, they took care of you, even if you weren't their kid. They 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 told you what it was gonna be. You can count on it. They said they was gonna do something. And to me, like those life lessons that I learned back then play even a bigger role in my life now. You know what I'm saying? It's like I hold on people to the highest regard of my life rather than people I played in the NFL with. Like the standard of how you supposed to live life, like looking at a lot of people back at home, man. Um, and it's I think that it also boils up the question like, what do you define as success? You know what I'm saying? I always thought the definition is just success was just like, man, get a lot of money, bro, and go buy a lot of stuff. That's it. You know what I'm saying? Which ain't nothing, there's nothing wrong with being able to work and be able to go out and provide for your family and take care of business and get yourself something nice. Like I still do enjoy doing things like that. You know what I'm saying? But the difference is that my substance and who I am is not defined off that. You know what I'm saying? When I was a youngster, that's what it was about. Boom, go spend this bag or buy all these shoes or like and get this and that. But I always, for me, I always still felt drained, not even complete. You know what I'm saying? Not even complete after that. So now it's like, as I've gotten older, I've started to look at like, what do you define as success, man? You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you when people talk about success, what does that look like to you? What does it look like to you, man? And it's a lot of people back at home. To me, they displayed being successful in their life just based off of the things they did and how they live, man, and how they treated people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Um, and I would probably say you call it as maybe success, but just a standard of living. You know what I'm saying? Just a
Yeah.
standard of living, man. Like people back at home taught us how to do it the right way, man. They do, and they still around. There's a lot of those individuals that still around, man. So, I mean, maybe I need to just take a pen and paper and write down everybody's name, bro. Just
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
never.
Yeah.
This would be a 3-hour episode, man. But shout out to the Ville, bro. Shout out to my hometown, man. It's a lot of y'all paved the way, bro. And y'all don't even know it, And I know sometimes because that's the thing, right? Like when you're doing something right and you're doing it the right way, how you supposed to be doing it, a lot of times you'll be having people watching, but they may not ever say anything to you. They may not even have the courage to come up to you and speak to you. They may not even know how to put them words together, even say it to you,
Yeah.
but they've seen it. You know what I'm saying? They've seen it. And you may not never even know. But just because you think there ain't nobody watching, man, don't mean you're supposed to stop living and doing what you're supposed to do. Because at the end of the day, you know. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
It's
man.
it's it's bigger
Shout
than
out to
you.
the Ville, bro.
Yeah. Shout out
Shout
to
out to the Ville, man. Shout out
that
to the Ville.
magical place.
Just hey, and then being the best you can be, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like just being the best you can be, man. Because that's what the Ville taught me. Just be the best you can be at what you can do. That's it. Tim Green, cutting hair, the best he could be at what he can do when it come to cutting hair. You know what I'm saying? And that's what he took pride in doing. And like even seeing Green live like that and doing that, that taught me a lesson. Be the best you can be at what you do, bro. That's it. Regardless on what it is, be the best you can be at what you can do, man. So man, I'm done, bro. I'm done.
Rayville, Louisiana. Oh. you said a mouthful when you said, what's the definition of success? I started off saying every story is like a fingerprint, right? It's its own unique story. I said the future don't really exist. So if you're gonna make something up, you might as well make it the best story you can make it. Success is defined by the individual in pursuit of it. So whatever your definition of success is, that's exactly what it is, right? Man, some names you threw out Green. I can remember Green when he still had the braids and he'd pull up then he had an Acura back then or something. And just watching him come in the shop and seeing all these people give him their money and thinking like, dang, like this Green got it made. Coach Brown, if you see him on the sideline, sweater vest, ostrich cowboy boots, creased up, hands on his hip. Ain't nobody talking crazy to him, fooling like I'm looking at him like, man, it's a giant. Coach Smith, him and Fred, they had the matching Maximus back in the gap. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
They pull up and they too big. Like when you younger, it's like, man, who's these giants? Mr. Bo, Uncle Ed, you know what I'm saying? Fee James.
Yeah, Fee James.
Fee ain't no astronaut or nothing. He don't have the craziest job. Fee always gonna be clean, right? He gonna always have a nice whip. He gonna wash it damn near every day. His yard immaculate, nice house. His kids gonna look a certain type of way. And whenever Fee want to go, wherever he want to go, whether it's on a cruise, overseas, you always see Fee going to do this, right? Fee still working Dollar General to this day and drive buses. But you couldn't tell me and can't tell me today that ain't $1 million man when you see it.
And that boy gonna hit you with a jump shot.
And he wet.
You wet.
Go shoot you at the gym.
And with a head full of waves.
Damon West, Mr. Sweet. Like you said, Don Zilla. You said when you go through these names, Mr. Ezel, George Tennant, right? Just those types of people, man. Coach Lewis
Lee, boy. R.P. Rest in peace, Lewis Lee.
Rest in peace, Lewis Lee. Lewis Lee, one of the best vocabularies ever, right? A man of faith. Pray for you, slap you down, fire you hard, pick you up, love you, feed you, share Dr. Pepper with you. And gonna be at the game in a trench coat with his sookie, that corner down there every time, right? He gonna be there and ready to get thrown out right now. First quarter to fourth, he ready to get tossed out if y'all ain't handling his harness right. Johnny Mack, let him full three-piece suit. He gonna be pushing the push broom, getting the floor clean, ready for his harness. On the sideline at all times. Johnny Mack might have supported more kids than anybody in Rave ever had, right? Been there. It ain't just one sport for him. Baseball, track, basketball, football, whatever. Coach Mack gonna be there. Norman Wilson, D-John. Like it's all kind of names we can name. But I digress a bit. We'll go back to Quentin Cortez Brown, AKA franchise QCB, as some of y'all might know him now. When you say you want to define success, Edgar and I about, Edgar, what you 2 years behind him, that make me 3 to 4 years behind him, right?
Yeah.
When you want to define success, right? Quint, the reason we wanted to play football, I got people know me for having dogs now. Quint, the reason I had dogs. If you know me from doing music, Quint, the reason I was doing music, right? We wanted to play ball because Quint played ball. I don't know how many of y'all came through during the time, but to see number 52 with that Douglas jumping out the back of his pad with 52 patched on that, right? Tats all over him. He ain't got no knee pads on, right? Everybody else got team cleats. He got these green cleats that zip up and look like specs. Buys in, and you're gonna hear his name all night, right? We talking 6'2", 245 Mike linebacker, 470 speed in high school. Like NFL, easy. It ain't even no thought, right? Made a few bad decisions, one bad decision above all, because he was always a mischievous kid. Most of the time, any trouble we got into, two could be attributed to one Quentin Cortez Bryant, right? He'll get us in trouble in a minute and then say, I don't know why Courtney Edgar and them out there doing that stuff. Edgar didn't used to do nothing when we was little, right? Most of the time, Edgar be over there, mind his business, Quint do something to make us pick on Edgar. Edgar cry. He'll come in the house, Courtney and them got Edgar out there crying, or Edgar and Courtney did this. Edgar ain't did nothing, right? But that's what he'll do. But he was a major, major influence on us coming up. And when that happened with him, to hear the numbers that they threw out at him, like, and to know he was about to be gone. First of all, he was the oldest male. Cousins, him or Nick, which one?
No, you got Terrence.
Terrence, but I'm talking about like as far as just around us, we were all in the same school. So even if Nick is older, Nick was at Mangum, right? But as far as what me and Edgar had to look at every day, it was Quint. So of course, when Quint goes, as far as that side of the family, it damn near was like the torch hit Edgar, right? Because I'm behind Edgar. And when you look at measurables, well, the next in line who got the tools of the trades is Edgar. That 6'3", 2, whatever, that come there. My length went horizontal. Them boys had the vertical stuff, right? So now he take the torch and boom, he gone. He go off with it. I'm doing my thing scholastically and whatever else I could do, dogs, music, all that. But as far as the football thing, Edgar took that, he ran with it. We got other names we got to look at too, though, to help cultivate us. Anita Tennant, or Anita Tennant Mack, was we told this story about our families before. You would think all us just related, just one big, we all one big family, but as far as blood relation, like Nene and Edgar not blood related, but you can't tell, right? Because our family's that close. But we looking at Nene going to do her thing with law. We looking at what she driving, what she staying in. We look at Tim. You look at Hayes going on playing ball and doing this stuff. The good thing about having a front row seat is I know it wasn't always easy for them. Looked great, but adversity was spread through all them names I just named. Adversity was always there hitting them. Uncle George, it looked good, but it was some tough times, right? They kept going. Right? So I had a view of what success looked like from all these people I just named, right? So I can form my own thing and say, okay, that's what it is. But I also got a front row seat with Edgar too, of seeing and hearing and knowing the hard days when they want to quit, when they don't pass this test. Bull, Dr. Stephen William Nicholas Hayes said on here and told y'all he didn't get into dental school twice. And his mama died in the midst of it. And he found out he had a new baby. Had to pick it up and keep going, right? We got cousins and uncles that beat addiction, right? I got an uncle, I won't say on name, I got an uncle that beat crack. That's rough. If you can beat that, you can beat anything. You know what I'm saying? I had cousins that beat addiction and they doing great things. It's always a period of you down. What you gonna do about that? I told y'all earlier about my mother and father having volatile relationship. Split, found happiness again, still doing their thing, right? Overcoming periods of adversity. That's what we taught where we're from, right? And I tell people all the time, from a magical place, I don't care what place you name, you'll never get me to say, I want to be from anywhere else but where I'm from. Rayville, Louisiana. There's some cats out there that I watched coming up that probably don't have no idea I watched them. I used to just want to touch Tim them pads after the game, right? Or you see a cat like E. Green or Bo Sumlin come with their Letterman jacket on. You see all these, I don't even know what all these patches mean, but I want one of them one day, right? I can't wait to go play for it. We think about it. Think about when Brown came to the junior high and you in the 7th, 8th grade, and he tell you, hey, you come down to practice next week after y'all season over. They probably going 2-10, 2-8, 1-9. Yeah. You couldn't wait. to go down there and dress out in the sweat box, full of adversity. But guess what? Your mind, you were so focused on the prize, we didn't know that warming up in stickers and drinking out that water hole with no adversity, right? Man, we just happy to be there. You know what I'm saying? I want to play. So yeah, I'm finna do these sea rolls and these stickers in 100-degree weather. Yeah, I'm finna go in here in the hot box and lift this iron with the windows and flow sweating. You just happy to be in there. you ain't know there was no adversity, right? When you that focus on the goal and that's something you want to do, you'll start to not even notice that that's what that is. Right? I'm just, I got to go in here to get stronger. That's the way to do it. Let me go in here and do it, right? We went from that to the field house. It was great in the field house. But hell, we got built up for that field house through what? The damn sweat box, right? That iron, that sweaty flow. That's why we could throw weights around in the field house once it got built, right? All this beautiful stuff with, but we appreciated it that much more. The new cats coming in now don't have no idea, right? They just think that's how it's supposed to be. Told you earlier, Nova and them, they don't know nothing about the ugly part. They think that's how it's supposed to be, but that's beautiful because you make this normal to them. So now the same normalcy we just talked about, the people we saw, and we looked at it and say, hey, man, that's what success look like. You put them on another playing field now, they're going to see people in the environment you built for them. And they're going to say, man, it's normal. My daddy being a Hall of Famer, that's normal. We just talked about the other day. So now what Nova and them going to think success is or what's normal.
Shit, that's a challenge then. That's what that now
it is. But think about this.
That's the gift and the curse though of that though. You know what I'm saying?
But your success is, if your success is normal though, think about where they're gonna set their goals at. 9 levels to even messing up. Remember I told you that yesterday too. It's levels to messing up, say rich kids or people who are billionaires. Bezos mess up today and he go from 128 billion to 120 billion. It's an $8 billion loss. Most people say that a kid, he still got 120 left. So his levels to his, you see what I'm saying? Nova's them normal is your peak. That's what we shoot for anyway. We always say that cut the time in half, what we make normal for him. So now his goal is going to be set somewhere we probably can't even imagine. Because this is plate, this is floor, right? Your ceiling, his floor. It's a beautiful thing. Now, it can't create pressure for him along the way, like your dad did this, your dad did that. We know part of your job, part of L.I.T's job, part of Aunt Willie's job is going to be not to pressure him. Think about J.W. right now, right? Whether you like it or not, Edgar Jones is pressure for Jay because he got that's what I'm looking at. Damn, I'm in the same footsteps of my brother. You'll see it yourself. His trajectory is still better than what yours was. Size, speed, grades, all that. School a little bigger, right? He got you, you know what I'm saying? So he got it a little better than you had it, right? It's pressure there. Think about the options Jay got though, because the people we name ain't willing all them made a sacrifice so we can do a little better. So if you think about our family compared to our aunts, our parents, damn near everybody doing a little better, right? It might not be too much, but a little better than our parents was at their time. Parents are doing a little better than grandma did, right? Because everybody making sacrifices on these levels. So let's say football don't work for Jay. Jay can call Nick, try to be a state boy. He can call me, go oil and gas. He can call you and get into performance school or whatever, right? Because we making it that way. That's all you can ever hope for. It's the ultimate goal. After NFL and all this stuff, you start having children. You hope your children, you can start them at a level higher than where you started it, right? You can make certain stuff normal. So what that name means something. You did your part. Now Jones means something different than it meant 40 years ago, right? That Patrick Jones means something different. Anderson gonna mean something different. You doing it. You done it. So,
and I think I don't know, man. The kids got it. They pressures. This could be a whole nother hour episode, but they pressures and our pressures is two totally different pressures now these days.
They are.
You know what I'm saying? It's two totally different pressures, man. And I mean, yeah, because you strive to give your kids the best. You strive to give your family the best in what you didn't have, but then you gotta be careful of the monster you end up creating. Because it's like, how do I teach them still life lessons in the midst of me wanting to give them better than what I had? You know what I'm saying? That's the thing, right? It's like, well, I want to make sure I provide shelter and food and make sure they're taken care of, right? And things I probably didn't have so much of that now I can get a chance to be able to do for them. But like, how do you still teach them life lessons? Because again, it goes back to, right, like what I define as adversity and what I experience as adversity in my teen years compared to my children or compared to your children, it's gonna be totally different. You know what I'm saying? And that's the challenge, right? It's what comes with 2022.
It comes with life, baby.
Coming life, man. Right. So, but yeah.
Nothing could ever be perfect because everything's always changing and evolving. Soon as I get parenting an 8-year-old down pat, she turned 9, right? Yeah. And it's a whole different. I got 19, 11, 5 in the house. That's gonna always change, and then each individual child gonna have their own sets of traumas and problems and stuff they deal with, different attitudes, different personalities. Which is the reason I got to keep evolving, right? I got to keep my tools sharp. You know what I'm saying? That's the beauty of it. Again, when fighting a man with no arms, prepare to get kicked. As soon as you get all this down, he ain't got no arms, so I got it. Boom, there go a foot to the face. Now I got to learn how to guard this. Because your next opponent might be a cat. It might be Goro off Mortal Kombat. Next cat might come up, he got 4 arms with 2 big legs and he's 7 foot tall. You know what I'm saying? So you got to be versed in that. So timing again, though, it's still all about timing, right? That's why you learn to become one with adversity and embrace it, because it's a time for growth. And you grow, put stuff in your toolbox, and get ready for the next thing. Right? Because even in your bountiful life, there still will be adversity. Right? I started off saying the African proverb, where God created the lands and the lakes and stuff for man to live. Guess what? You still got to harvest those plants. You still got to go kill the animals. You still got to prep it. You got to go down to that river and get you some water. You got to filter it. You got to manage it. All right. You got to manage what water I'm going to drink, what water I'm going to irrigate these fields for. It'll be work at every level. All right. As long as you plan on evolving and living this world, it's going to be work. That's part of the contract, whether you like it or not. When you crawl out of your mama, that's part of the contract. And the boatman going to come see you. That's part of the deal. Longevity going to be in your cards. It's going to be some adversity. You're going to lose some people. And one day, some people going to lose you. It's part of it. But it's a whole lot of beautiful stuff in between them, man. A whole lot of great, beautiful stuff. So, as the songwriter said, if you're going through hell, don't stop. Keep on going. You might get out before the devil even notice you there. So keep going, man. Don't stop. Don't quit. Keep on going. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy cometh in the morning. Trouble don't last always. Gone forever. Whatever little saying you want to throw to it, believe it and apply it, and you'll be okay. All us go through it. Anybody you can name, I guarantee you, they go through it. Just keep going. All right. That word behind it, go through. You can't go through it if you stop. So go on through. All right. Trust that process. Congrats to Edgar Jones again on being a Hall of Famer. And you are in the NFL Hall of Fame. Dale said it in the song, if Raver had a Hall of Fame, I need a wall all by myself. You got a wall, partner. You know what I'm saying? You got a wall. So next
Appreciate it, man.
Hall of Fame of podcast and doing what we do here. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'll put us up against anybody. with extreme confidence, because we've been blessed and we doing the work. I got faith in it. So cheers to you. Cheers to all those people we named and all the people we didn't name. Cheers to Rayville, Louisiana. We love y'all. That's from the bottom and top of my heart, and the middle too. Like, I love that play.
It's a L.I.T Code, man. We out.
Arrivederci.